Club, Monetizing Apps in Emerging Markets, Hard Mode Edition. So with huge download numbers, lower income, poor internet, and insufficient data allowances, emergency countries are a promising but challenging opportunity for Android developers and publishers. But through Apps Club, they helped hundreds of companies to better monetize their titles, generating incremental revenues for them in more than 35 emerging markets where we are, and we can do the same for you. Okay, so this session is in English, so if you want to listen in Portuguese, just access the link for the translation here on the channel. Okay, so please, let's welcome Rodrigo Lanes, Partnerships and Content Manager at Bimobi. Hi, Rodrigo, how are you?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here as well, and the screen now is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, my name is Rodrigo. I'm head of partnerships for Bimobi. I would like to thank you all for being here in this conversation today. And I would like to start telling you about Bimobi, just a little bit about our company, what we do, where we are, how we were born, and then tell you a little bit about the difficulties you might expect to face when you operate in one of those markets, in one of those emerging markets. And then finally tell you about what Bimobi is already doing to help literally hundreds of game developers and publishers to further monetize their titles in those emerging markets, right? Extracting incremental revenues from them, and the best of it all with absolutely no additional costs and no additional efforts. So without further delays, let's talk about Bimobi, right? So who are we? Well, we are a company in the digital entertainment industry with more than 10 years of operations. We started as a Brazilian company, but we quickly went global, first expanding to Latin American countries and then to other regions in the world. So today we're present in 38 countries in Latin America, of course, Africa, Eastern Europe, South and Southeastern Asia, all of those 38 countries, emerging markets. And obviously, this is no coincidence, right? This is part of our strategy. This is very related to our core strengths, and you'll soon understand why we target those markets specifically. Also, very recently, in February this year, to be precise, as part of our expansion, as part of our growth, we had our IPO. So we're now a company listed in the Brazilian stock market, Bovespa, which gives us great pride. It was a very big step for us. Additionally, we are a B2B2C company, okay? That means we take our services and products to end users through other companies. In our very specific case, the second B in this acronym, the B2B2C, is related to mobile carriers. So we take our services and products to users around the world in emerging markets through mobile carriers, and we have contracts with 72 of them right now. And those mobile carriers give us access to an addressable user base of 2.3 billion people. So those are the people that we could bring to our service, people that we could convert to subscribers of our services, because they already possess SIM cards of those mobile carriers. Last, I would say that we usually sell our services as white label services, okay? Which means you won't see our name out there a lot, right? We are always using the mobile carrier brands, the strength of their brands, the strength of their names to promote our services. So you won't see a lot of Bimobi, but you'll see Claro, you'll see Vivo, you'll see Vodafone, Ooredoo, and so many others promoting our services. And well, back in the day, I would say that we have offices in many parts of the world, but I guess no one cares anymore, right? We're all working from home these days. But just as a curiosity, yes, we have offices in Brazil, Ukraine, Norway, India, and we have people scattered all over the world. So this is who we are. We are a company in the digital entertainment industry, more than 10 years, listed in the stock market, working on a B2B2C model in partnership with mobile carriers, focusing in emerging markets and selling our services as white label services. This is who we are. But what is it that we do exactly? If I had to summarize in a few words, basically I would say we are digital entertainment experts, bringing digital services to to Android mobile users around the world in emerging economies. But we do that in a very specific fashion. We do that by making sure that those services are relevant, affordable, and available to those users. I understand this might be still a subjective definition, so let me try to make this a little more concrete for you. Anything that could be communicated, sold, charged for, and delivered via mobile phone could be potentially one of our services. And in fact, we have many. We have many services that fit that description. We have, for example, language learning services. We acquire users, we communicate the service, we acquire users, we charge for the service, and we deliver the service, everything on the same platform using the user's mobile phone. We have fitness and well-being services. But the most important service we offer, in my humble opinion, and that has nothing to do with the fact that it is related to the business unit in which I work in Bimobi, is Apps Club. Okay, Apps Club is basically how we packed this set of solutions to help mobile app developers and publishers to succeed in those emerging markets around the world. We're going to talk a little bit about Apps Club further down this presentation. For now, you just need to have this name in mind, okay? So let's move on and talk a little bit about the games industry. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. You guys are the experts, you know a lot more about this than I do. I guess all we need to say is that this is the biggest industry, biggest entertainment industry in the world right now. Nothing tops that. And when we look at segments, we see it is indeed a mobile world. So half of the revenues from this industry, they're coming from mobile. And there is a lot of money here to be made, right? One additional point is that not all of this money comes from developed markets. A lot of it comes from developing economies, and that's where we want to help our partners to succeed, right? So there's not a lot of news in the previous two slides, but this is where things might start to get interesting. So if you take a look at the table on the left, and then you take a look at the table on the right, you'll see what we call the revenue download disparity, right? On the left, you have app downloads, and you'll see a lot of emerging markets. You'll see countries like India, Brazil, Indonesia, Russia, Mexico, Turkey, Vietnam, and Thailand, 8 out of 10 emerging markets. But when you take a look at the table on the right, none of them, with the exception of Russia, are there, and Russia is in the last position. So the obvious question that arises from this is why? I mean, why is it that you have those gigantic countries with literally hundreds of millions of people, India with more than 1 billion people, generating massive numbers of downloads. And then when you take a look at the right, which is the amount of revenues generated, you know, the countries ranked per amount of revenues generated, you only see one of them there, right? And downloads is not even the first step on that conversion funnel, right? In order to generate revenues for game developers, people, before they can download the title, they need to actually know the title exists, get to the title, feel interested enough to actually hit the download button, then download it, then install and play, and finally start generating revenues, right? So download is somewhere in the middle. So you have a lot of downloads on the left, and those countries are not generating proportionally the same amount of revenues. And the question that we're going to answer is why that happens. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the numbers here on the right. This presentation is going to be available for you at our stand, and we can discuss them later. If you want, just ping me, we can have a call. I'm going to go straight to the conceptual reasons why that happens. And if I had to stick to 3, I would say payment methods, payment schemes, and data plans, okay? And I said I was going to address how we solve those issues later, but I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna explain how we see those questions and how we address them, okay? So first one, payment method, it's quite simple, right? I mean, when we're talking about the digital industry, we're also talking about digital payment methods, right? And the most prevalent in developed countries are credit cards. Unhappily, this is not a reality for emerging markets around the world. There are many countries where the credit card penetration is super low. So people have a very concrete barrier to actually acquire those services. Whether it's an in-app item they want to buy from a game, it's whether it's a premium title they want to download, or if it's a subscription service, they simply cannot pay for it. So there's a very strong barrier there. And how do we address that? Well, guess what? We don't need credit cards. Again, because we have partnerships with mobile carriers, we use their mobile their billing systems. Okay, so most people in the world won't have credit cards. It is a luxury indeed. But most people in the world will have a mobile phone, and in order to use those mobile phones, they will need to top up. They will need to insert credit. They will need to have balance. And that's where we take our money from, right? We sell the service, we charge them up front, and then they are enabled to use the service. So we don't need credit cards for people to use our service, and we remove a gigantic barrier from those markets. Then let's talk about payment schemes. Again, think about emerging economies where people usually have smaller pockets, right? They usually don't want to pay big bucks for those titles. They're used to have some of those those items for free. Also, sometimes they will not be willing to pay for monthly subscriptions, right? A month is a very long period of time. So we address those questions too, right? And I understand why it is hard for game developers, for example, to customize prices, to localize prices according to economic realities, different economic realities. So imagine, for example, you have different prices for United States and Pakistan, right? I mean, totally different realities. But you can have users, you can see how users would easily create an account on, let's say, Google Play Pakistan using a VPN, and then they would basically be able to buy the same title or buy the same in-app purchase for, I don't know, a tenth of the original price or 20th of the original price. So I understand why it's hard for developers to do that on a regular store, but we address not only the price itself, but the pricing, the payment schemes. Because of our users, they are locked with their mobile carriers, right? It's not like they will find a SIM card from another country and will be able to use it in their own countries. So we can, and we do customize localized prices according to each carrier and each country, making those prices really suitable for their local realities. But also we have different payment schemes. So we do have monthly subscriptions, but we have also weekly subscriptions. We have also daily subscriptions. And sometimes it will be a lot more enticing to users to subscribe to a daily service. And if they're paying like small amounts of money, and if they want to quit, then fine, they go. They didn't spend a lot of money, then paying a bunch of money up front for a whole month. Okay. Last, data plans. Again, emerging markets, usually data plans are both limited and expensive. And imagine a user needing to download a game that is, I don't know, 100 megabytes or 500 megabytes, or they need internet in order to play that game. And again, those data plans are both limited and expensive. And again, because we have partnerships with mobile carriers, many times we have our stores and the content inside our stores zero rated, which means people will not need to download, they will not spend their data allowances in order to download or to play those titles. So we're saving them money in that case and giving them a better experience. We have other factors as well, right? Culture, we have awareness, right? In gigantic stores, you have millions of titles, so it's hard to compete with that. There's the low quality of many titles on those stores, so you need to find your way through that in order to get user attention. So there are several different issues. We tackle each one of them. Again, I'm going to stick to these three ones because they are the most important in our view. So we discussed a little about the difficulties of those markets. Now let's talk about Apps Club and how we are helping partners to monetize in those countries. So what is Apps Club exactly? Being very straightforward, it's pretty much like Google Play Pass, okay? It's a subscription-based mobile, Android mobile apps and games store with no in-apps, with no ads, no external links. We don't need a credit card. We are very strict with the curation of content, and as long as you're paying for the time, for that period of time, you can use whatever you want for as long as you want. Okay, so this is our value proposition to end users. But how do we help our partners to thrive in those emerging markets with Apps Club? Well, we offer a complete solution. Okay, we do everything from user acquisition to billing optimization and everything else in between. So we, again, we have access to mobile carriers channels. So think about IVR, voicemail, SMS, sat push, and all the other electronic channels that they have available. We also do our own digital marketing campaigns. We localize content, meaning titles, descriptions, sometimes the assets when the partner needs us to. We also make sure that the content being published for the countries where we are present is actually suitable for that specific culture, religion sometimes. We promote the content in our stores. So this is not, and there's no cost here. Okay, so you don't need to pay us anything in order to have your content promoted in our stores. And we have several different channels. We're going to see this a little bit further down the presentation. We collect payment. And again, when we talk about payment, we're talking about pricing, we're talking about payment schemes, we're talking about the billing itself. And at the end, we have the billing optimization. And believe me, there's a whole science behind this. Especially when you're talking about prepaid users who may or may not have the amount of money required to be charged for the service. So there's a whole science behind this, and we are very good at that. So we offer this complete solution. And when you compare us to regular stores, well, we are far less competitive, right? Again, we have a bit more than 1,000 titles published. We don't want to grow much more. We want to have good titles, not all the titles, right? So it's a lot easier for our partners to get visibility on our stores. All of our potential users, all of our addressable user base, they're all potential payers, right? All of them have mobile phones. Most of them, or many of them, will have smartphones, so that they are all enabled to pay for the service. And all of our users, they are paying subscribers, right? It is a subscription-based store, so everyone is generating money which is going to be shared with our partners. So when you take a look at a regular store, you'll see that there's a lot more apps, there's a lot more people, but most of them are not willing or they don't have the means to pay for digital services, okay? And then how do we make sure that we are not cannibalizing existing revenues? Well, basically, we target specific geographies and specific user types. So basically, we're targeting geographies that have very low credit card penetration. Okay, we're targeting emerging economies. And in those economies, we are targeting a specific user type. We're targeting people, mostly people who have prepaid mobile phones, meaning they need to top up first and then use their services, which is not the prevalent model in developed economies where people have credit cards and they can sign contracts and pay by the end of the month on their credit cards. So again, we're not cannibalizing existing revenues, we're generating 100% incremental revenues for our partners. Also, as I said, we use our mobile carriers partners brands, which is not only good because people will trust a lot more a message coming from Claro, Vodafone, Oi, Vivo, TIM, whatever mobile carrier they use, than a message from Bimobi that they never heard of. But also we have access to their mobile channels, to their acquisition channels. So again, we have easier access to them, cheaper access to them, which basically at the end of the day is good for the whole chain, right? There's more money on the table left to be shared with our partners. So moving on, we have content promotion, right? As I said back there, we have several different tools in order to promote content. We have push notifications, so we can talk to our whole user base through push notifications. We have a feature tab where you have a carousel. It's the first position what people will see when they access the store. We have the feature tab itself, which is manually defined by our publication team on a weekly basis. So we define what are the apps that are going to be there. And we basically, again, we agree with our partners on that. There's no cost for them to be promoted here. And we have the categories tab where all the titles can be found. We also have acquisition channels that can be used to promote content. So if the content is good enough and converts well enough, then we can keep that content there, driving obviously a lot more usage to those partners and therefore a lot more money too. Last, if you're sending to us a premium title or an in-app or a free-to-play title with all in-app purchases available for free, then you probably want to be sure that your content is safe, right? So before we publish any titles, we wrap it with our own DRM technology, which has several different roles, but the main two are to count usage events, even if the user is offline. So basically, it will let us know how many usage events that title, that game or app had during that period. So we can account for that and then pay our partners accordingly. And second, obviously, to protect the content. So people who are not eligible users, they cannot access the content, right? It's protected by our DRM technology. So basically, at the end of the day, it's a very safe, and more than that, it's a very simple solution. There's absolutely no need for connections, no APIs for you to connect. There are no SDKs for you to implement in your own apps. It's a very straightforward process. Okay. So when now talking about partnerships, okay. So these are some of the names of companies who are already working with us, okay? I guess most of them don't require an introduction. They're some of them are very big companies, but we work with companies from all sizes, including individual developers who have come up with one interesting game, good quality. We thought it was interesting, we brought it to the platform, okay? But we have gigantic companies as well working with us and already profiting from our business model. Okay. Talking quickly about our onboarding process. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the details. I'm just going to go over the main points here. We usually work on a revenue share after costs model, and usually it's a 50-50 revenue share. No one is forced to stay, so the contract brings people in, but as soon as they want to leave, they can do that pretty much overnight. There are no barriers for them to leave, so if the model is not satisfactory enough, they can just go. The whole acceptance process is also very easy, so it's on a click of a button on our online platform, and once that is done, it's basically uploading APKs, marketing assets. We don't need a special version of your app. We can usually do the changes required on our side, so removing in-app purchases, removing ads and all those things. And then assuming everything is fine, we can publish the title in about 5 days. Okay. And then once that is done, the title is live. Basically, it takes about 2 months for the first payment to arrive, and then we are paying on a monthly basis. Okay. Again, stores are live and already generating money. We already have users. It's a matter of promoting that content, making sure people will notice it, download it, start to play, and start generating money for that title specifically. Okay. So basically, imagine a pie. The pie is already there. We just need to cut your pie, to cut your piece. So to finish, these are some testimonials from some of our already existing partners. Again, you can see that on the presentation. Not spending more time with this. So if any of that sounds interesting, if you want to hear a bit more, discuss a potential partnership, understand if your title would be a good fit for us. Anyway, if you would like to have a chat, please just look for us in the platform. We'll be more than glad to discuss with you while we grab a cup of coffee, okay? So thank you very much. If you have any questions, now's the time.
Thank you, Rodrigo. You know, actually, I do have one question. This monetization process is so interesting. You know, I really would like to know how exactly Bimobi promotes your content without bothering the user with so many notifications. You know, that would be really nice to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a policy in terms of contact with users, right? So we don't push a lot of communications every day. So actually, each carrier has its own standards, right? At the end of the day, the partnership with the carriers also serves to help us define some of those standards. So, for example, for Brazilian standards, we talk to our partner to our users once a day. To some other carriers in other countries, we speak to them once a week. Other carriers we speak 3 times a week. So that depends basically on the carrier and on how they see their users responding to that communication. The same on our side. If we understand that the communication is not helping us, I mean, there's no conversion or additional downloads because of that, then we remove, but we reduce the amount of communications and then we adjust accordingly.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Thank you. This panel was really amazing. And you, while you're watching, please share the Big Festival website with everyone around you, with your friends, with your family. You know, it's bigfestival.com.br, okay? I'm counting on you. And I'll be right back in a few minutes with the next session, okay? I'll wait for you, so stay tuned.
Big Festival 2021, the biggest games festival in Latin America.